Happy Tuesday. Back with another episode of the UFL Insiders. I got the gang with me hanging out below. You can't see them yet because I haven't put them in yet. But going to break down some games from week 4, and then talk about a little bit about week 5. Now, I had a guest lined up tonight, but they weren't able to make it, and it's unfortunate because I haven't had guests cancel like that on me, but hopefully going into the future, we can really have some different guests on to talk. But the guys from AFN are great guests, and they all have their own flavor and style of breaking down stuff. So it's good to have them on. So I was supposed to actually go to the Birmingham game last week against DC in Birmingham. I did not make that, unfortunately. I was a little upset about it. I had some stuff come up. The drive I just couldn't make in time before game time. It looked like a good one. You had to wait out the storm or the lightning there, but man, unfortunately I couldn't attend that one. So I look forward to attending Protective Stadium in the future some point, just whenever I can. It's about 4.5 hours from me, so it's not like it's too far, but it's definitely a trip coming there and back. So I was unfortunately busy and couldn't make that, so we'll see what happens in the future. Week 4 was a good week, I felt like, besides the double coverage games, the regional games on Fox. That was a little difficult, and we'll talk about that some more as we go on. But it was a good week for football. I had a good time watching the games. This was the second week I've got to watch the games from home, so I enjoyed that greatly. And I forget the privilege of being able to watch from a TV instead of on the road at the actual game. Each has their positives and benefits, but it is what it is when you're watching from home. It's just comfortable. So I'm going to break down the Memphis Showboats at the St. Louis Battlehawks game, talk about it a little bit more, just kind of give some keys and what happened, and then we'll bring the gang in like we've been doing throughout the past few episodes. So we had the Battlehawks taking on the Memphis Showboats. The Battlehawks came ready, and it was a good game. Coming into the first half, it was a great game. They were battling it out, man. The Battlehawks took it 32-17, but that first half, it looked like a good game. Both offenses were firing. Both defenses were protecting, and I mean, they were doing great. Some interceptions. You saw a lot of different things happening, but this whole game shifted when Case Cookus went down. So as we went in, we knew it was going to be a lot of people there. It's St. Louis, right? 31,757 people in attendance. The game averaged 954,000 on ABC. That's not a surprise at this point. We know ABC games and Fox games typically are going to do very good, and that's what we hope for. We'll talk about the FS1 game, and that was very, very low, and that's not a surprise, honestly. It just isn't. And I believe that's the last game we'll have on FS1 this season, so that's a good thing. That stadium was rolling. I'm going to turn these highlights on. And that's kind of what I want to envision for you guys, because going into the Battle Dome is a little bit difficult for a team, especially a team that's probably not used to all the noise. So as we go, I'll have this plan. So like I said, guys, it was a great game leading to the half. Personally, I saw a good amount of play from both teams playing. Now, the Battlehawks came in with Ja'Cour Pearson back on the roster. He was ready to rock and roll, and we seen him do that during this game. I believe he had 10 targets throughout the game, so it was a great game for him. Hakeem Butler had 9 targets following up. But the point of this is that they have a lot of skill on that Battlehawks offense. And don't sleep on the Memphis defense, because they're good as well. But in this game here, I believe they just got wore out. They got tired, and that's part of the reason Memphis ended up losing. I felt like the unfortunate part about it was towards the beginning of the third quarter. Case Cookus took a sack, fumbled, and was injured. And that was something that I pretty much saw coming since week 1. Week 2, I went and watched Memphis play in Memphis. And, when I went to the press conference, I asked Case, are you going to be able to sustain these amount of hits, this physical just coming at you every play? He said he could, but we see the evidence there. This O-line has got to protect him, man. They got to. He's a crucial part of this team, and they got to have him. So prior to the half, we saw some great movement from both the offensive units and defensive units. When they went in, the score was actually 20-17. Battlehawks were leading, and it was a good battle. I mean, it was a good game. Now, after Case went down, everything kind of fell apart in that third quarter for Memphis. And Troy Williams came in, and he did not have too good of a game. Let me see what he did. Troy Williams went 4 for 9 with 37 yards. So, yeah. But in his defense, he was facing a big defensive battle there from that St. Louis Battlehawks. I mean, they were firing on all cylinders, whether it was offense or defense, but their defense was coming, and that front line was coming. I don't know if I want to blame that on offensive line for Memphis, or if I just want to, say, hey, they're studs, but it was definitely a game to watch for that purpose. The return of Ja'Cour Pearson was evident. I mean, he had a team high receptions of 10 passing targets. Hakeem Butler, like I said, he was under 9. He had 9 targets. He was just under him by 1. Let me see how many yards. I lost it. Well, regardless, we know Ja'Cour Pearson was on it, man. Let me see. I need to find that because it's definitely important. All right, so out of 10 targets, 70 total yards, 1 touchdown. Hakeem Butler, he had 9 targets and 61 yards. So Hakeem Butler was a big part of this St. Louis Battlehawks offense. I mean, they couldn't do much without either one of these guys. But I thought it was awesome to see that they actually got the running game down, and it seemed to be working for them in the times they needed it. Jacob Sailors came through 15 attempts, 103 yards, no touchdowns, but man, when they needed those yards, he definitely got them. He broke away for a few. And ironically enough, AJ McCarron had 4 attempts for 23 yards, and he was the second best rusher for the Battlehawks. So, and Wayne Gallman, he had 2 attempts for 7 yards and then that 1 touchdown. And I thought he was injured. So it was good to see him get in the game, but he just didn't say much and do much from that. In terms of Memphis, some good things I saw from them. The defense was good, but I think they just got wore out. There's a lot of skill in the STL offense, and things were moving a lot this whole game, back and forth. Darius Victor for Memphis looked good for me as well. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry on 11 touches and had 1 TD. But, in terms of like Darius and Jonathan Adams and a few others, there wasn't much going on with this Memphis offense during the second half. Now, first half, we had some good play from Vince Papale and the gang, but the second half was just not there. In my opinion, some serious work needs to be put into the O-line in Memphis. If you don't protect Case, you're going to have a problem. STL had 4 sacks for this game, and I'm not sure if they were all on Case, but I know he took quite a few. And this is a regular thing for Case. We've seen this week in and week out. And it doesn't matter what you do. If a 350-pound man hits you, it's going to hurt you eventually. There's no way around it. I thought that AJ McCarron had a fantastic game and looks like the best quarterback in the league right now. And that I'm sitting on that and standing on that tall because, man, he did really good. He had a hell of a game. Let's see how many attempts. 35 for 45 with 222 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 1 interception, but still, man, that he had more attempts than Case and Troy put together. I mean, it was no comparison. Let me see. So Memphis had a total 39 plays. Battlehawks had a total 66 plays. So we see how that went. So, yeah, it's evident and clear that these Battlehawks are coming to play. And yeah, they lost that first one, but I don't know if they're going to lose any more looking at them. It's looking good. Ja'Cour Pearson, AJ McCarron, Hakeem Butler. I mean, these are all a bunch of names that's a lot to keep up with. So as we go forward, I'll be watching them more, but we all knew that from the roster they would be rolling this year. There was no way around it. I was really surprised they took the first loss that they did. I'm going to take the video off. So, yeah, like I said, 31,757 in attendance, 954,000 average TV viewers on ABC. And that score ended up being 32-17. Battlehawks took it at home in the Battle Dome. All right. No comments. Whoa, we're going to have no comments tonight. Let me get who's next in here. Let's get Mike G. Mike Bell. What's up, guys?
Hey, how we doing?
We're doing
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Look at that winner over there, Mike G.
I love this. This is awesome. I'll take it.
The battle of the mics.
Yep. So I'm done with St. Louis, guys. So let's start talking a little bit about the Panthers versus the Brahmas. This one was a rough one, in my opinion. It was hard for me to watch this at times. And I was a Michigan guy coming into this. I thought Michigan had a chance. I honestly did. But I also knew that the key to that was E.J. Perry. Without him and him being 100%, it's going to be a difficult ball game. So I guess, I don't know, which Mike wants to take it from here?
I'll go because I'm really excited about this
Winners
game.
first.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're very excited in San Antonio. And the Brahmas started out right from the gate on offense and being aggressive and moving the ball down the field. Some people were worried about Garbers and was Dormady going to be able to replace him. Those of us who follow spring football and alternate football have total faith in Dormady and what he could do. And some of us were really surprised that he wasn't QB1 from day one.
Yeah, he looked good.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first quarter, to start out the drive, they big play to another receiver. You add him to Kirkland and Stevenson is Justin Smith. He hit him for 39 yards to get within scoring range, and John Lovett punched it in. There was a 40-yard field goal by Ryan Santoso to make it 10-0 in the end of the first quarter. Not only was the offense rolling, but the defense was rolling. And this is a big question that we had when we were going to see this defense get after somebody. The front seven is ferocious, and they did not let up really all game. Now, in the third quarter, there was a little bit of lull. Going back to the scoring in the second quarter, it went down. Let's see. Dormady hitting Stevenson again for a 3-yard pass. In this one of the scoring drive was 3 passes and one rush. Right with about a minute left till halftime, so they were able to score and leave Michigan only about 17 seconds left. They moved the ball fairly decent, got into field goal range, and they had a very short 49-yard field goal by what was that kicker's name? Jake Bates. I know his name. Everybody knows his name. I believe that is the shortest field goal of his professional career was 49 yards. And
46.
No, it's not. 46. There it is. I knew it was in there somewhere.
It's close.
After halftime, the Brahmas, let off the gas a little bit. And, with these UFL games, you never quite feel like the game's in the bag. And when they let off, I was still nervous. I'm like, I know we're up, but, with these UFL games and the way that they're structured, that any team can come back at any time. You want to get up by multiple scores, at least 2 or 3 scores, so that you can kind of eliminate that. Fourth quarter, the scoring picked up a little bit. Ryan Santoso with another 36-yard field goal. Edling came in, for Perry, who was injured. He was running towards the sideline and he grabbed his hamstring. It looked like a pretty serious injury. I believe he returned for a short time before he was finally replaced by Edling. Edling came in to throw a 41-yard pass, which was the only big play that the Brahmas defense gave up all game long. For a 6-yard touchdown, the 2-point conversion was no good. And that was essentially the scoring. This defense, though, was phenomenal. 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. Tremendous defense. And I was going through some of the stats here, just kind of picking some stuff out. Only the Stallions have allowed fewer points, than San Antonio. San Antonio's offense is second only behind Birmingham in points on offense. And one thing that I wanted to mention is the lack of a 2-point conversions. We know that the success rate is going to be a little bit lower for the 2-point conversion, but it's not all that great for the 1-point conversion. No team has attempted and scored more 1-point conversions, and no team has scored or attempted fewer 2-point conversions than the Brahmas. And I'd like them to kick that up to the 2-point line a little bit more and get some more scoring going.
Mike Bell, you got it, man.
Yeah, I think did a great job recapping that, Mike G. I thought we've kind of talked a lot about identity these last 3 weeks for the Michigan Panthers, and the fact that they needed to find that on offense. They've clearly showed on defense that they have elite qualities. They have a great secondary. You saw the interception by Kai Nakua in the end zone.
Beast.
Yes, absolutely. They do a pretty good job of keeping everything in front of them. I do see it their weakness, and they really exploited this on this day, was outside of the numbers, kind of mid-range distance. They just carved them up with Justin Smith, helped him rack 7 receptions for 107 yards. I thought that was like kind of the X factor of just kind of dissecting their way down the field and getting points on the board. And it really just felt like kind of like watching Space Jam, the first one back in '95, when the Monstars are first assembled and they're just clearly dominating. I mean, they can't do anything right. And that was what was happening on offense for the Panthers. As Mike G put it, I mean, they were all over the field. Wyatt Ray was a monster. Even if he only had 1 sack for 10 yards, he was on every play, putting a hand on, Perry could escape, but he was chasing him down. Even that play that he got injured on, he was getting caught from behind. And I thought that really kind of took the wind out of the sails for the Panthers, coming off of a good win last week where they kind of looked like they were finally putting it all together. And again, that left side of the line, it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Last week it was good. This week was bad. Yeah, we thought that Jared Horst was going to come in and be the guy. He had a great week last week. This week, wow. I mean, it was penalty after penalty blown. I mean, Mike Nolan talked about it today in the media calls. It's not so much the scheme that's the problem. It's actually the one-on-ones. They're getting bowled. They're getting beat. And I think that's going to be a problem all season. We've had 4 weeks to kind of establish who teams are really going to be. I think the Panthers are always going to be in it. But it just looks like it's going to come down every week to that offensive line. And you put it really good to start us off, Matthew. You said EJ Perry's going to have to be the one that kind of navigate through that, because he's so good after getting through his progressions. He can bring it down and start running, use his legs. Yeah. He was the leading rusher in this game with 49 yards, and he didn't even play all 4 quarters.
Wow.
Danny Etling, Nolan does have full confidence in him. He said that today. It looks like it's pretty leaning towards Perry is going to be out this week. And he put his full confidence in Etling. He said he does have faith in Etling running the ball. However, Etling's fumbled on half of his carries already. And that worries me. Like, he's not really tucking that ball. He's not really sliding. He's diving, and he's just getting caught out in the open with some hands. And we saw that with Jordan Mosley. And the other thing I wanted to point out was I can't believe Mike Nolan didn't use Jake Bates more. I mean, like Mike G said, we all know his name. He's the only guy getting an MVP chance at the stadium. And there was 2 opportunities. One was a 67-yarder, and the other was like a 66. I can't remember exactly that second one. Both were within range of what he's done in practice. There is a video of him kicking a 70-yarder outdoors. And I just don't know why you don't just try to – I know he has faith in his defense, but that could have been – he's 6 for 6 on the year. That could be 6 more points. We might be talking about a different ending if they utilize him more.
Yeah, agreed there. It's get the points. And that should be the goal, right? I mean,
yep.
Who knows, as a coach, though, you really want to show, hey, we can scheme offense. So
right.
that may be a factor.
It scares me because they're not adjusting. Like, they're not they're not doing anything different week to week. They're just relying on EJ Perry. It reminds me so much of the Chicago Bears in 2022.
Yeah.
Justin Fields had to pull it down so much he was over 1,000 yards. I mean,
Yep.
And without that, and Etling looked crisp on those that last quarter, but you're down that much. The defense is playing soft. There's been no run game. I mean, it makes sense of why Etling kind of looked a little bit more crisp there.
Yeah, and he has Marcus Sims, so I mean he's a solid receiver, man. He's
Who
one of
has
the best
every
in the game.
receiving touchdown this year for the Michigan Panthers.
Wow, I did not know that. Every single one.
Yes.
Wow. Do you guys have any rushing touchdowns by running backs this year? Do you know?
We do have one by Matthew Colbert in the second, and that was last week. But other than that, it's all EJ Perry in the red zone, as one of our own Brian Gertler would say.
I mean, this literally looks like the 22 Chicago Bears almost.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with DJ Moore's not, or he wasn't there. Yeah, he was there in 22, right?
No, he was not. It was.
They had another stud receiver though, and it was similar setup.
Yeah, I mean, same kind of feel to it. Relying on one weapon, and then you run with your legs. I mean, that's seems like the offense. So I'm hoping we do have Sia Osi Mariner. He's coming to us from the CFL. He played for the Black Cats, I believe, and he actually was in camp last year with the Generals. I think it was the Generals with Coach Marcel Belfay for the offensive coordinator. So he has some familiarity with him as well as some of the players on the team already. I'm expecting him to kind of take a step up this week. He played with Jordan Love at Utah State. So seeing good things out of him.
So let me ask you this before we move on. Do you feel like EJ Perry's going to make it this whole season? I mean, is his injury clock ticking away? Because that's what I feel like with a few of these guys. Case Cookus is right there with him as well. But Case Cookus doesn't use his legs as much. But it's evident that when these guys leave these games, for whatever reason, that you can see how it affects the team 100%.
Absolutely. I don't see him making it the whole season. I mean, he won't be in this week. It doesn't look like. I can imagine him taking another week after that to kind of get better. He'll probably end the season with us if he can make it that long. But it's just, I mean, I don't know what you do in the UFL when you don't have offensive line depth.
You go 3-7.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. But I mean, we're going to need to get Brian Lewerke from Michigan State ready to go at this point.
Yeah, we went through that last year, with our struggles on the offensive line for the Brahmas. And, I find something in these offenses. I love the RPOs and the run and shoots, but I don't see enough in there built in chipping the tackles, leaving a tight end in or bringing a running back to pick up these guys in those offenses. I'm not seeing that.
That's a good point. I've been saying that nonstop during these Panthers games. Like, where's the check down guy at? I mean, we know the pressure's coming. We know that we cannot handle that pressure. Where is that check down? Like every NFL team has it. I mean, so it's like, I don't know. It drives me crazy.
They're going to have to come up with something to protect them. Same with Cookus in Memphis. Adjust these lines, come up with schemes. You got to do something. Even though it's only, 3 games into the season, you don't want to lose any ground as tight as these races are going to be.
Absolutely. Mike G, I wanted to ask you, with Wade Phillips taking over this year, do you see a difference between him and his style with as opposed to what Hines Ward was doing?
2 words, most definitely. I liked Coach Ward, but the experience that Coach Wade brings and the depth and his staff as well, and even going up to the GM, Mark Lillibridge, the impact they've had on this team is outstanding. I don't want to jinx us, but I like where we're going. We're tied for first in the XFL conference, and we're just trying to stay there.
Yeah, I'm a huge San Antonio Brahmas fans as well.
I'm converting everybody.
I love it.
We're bringing everybody.
I do have to say that going into this season, I did not buy into 2 teams being ranked in those power rankings so low, and it was San Antonio and Michigan. It just felt like people get too locked into the past results, and they were not keying into the players that were being brought in. And you could see it. Anthony McFarland doesn't play, and they're still that crisp on offense.
Yeah.
I loved what I saw from San Antonio, and I'm very jealous.
I agree. I think Quentin Dormady he made it where you guys could open up downfield.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those plays are stretching, whereas before they were just going 5, 10, 7. I mean, you saw some stretching going on, so I enjoyed
deep
that
ball
play.
by Dormady. Wow.
He can throw, man. He's got an arm and he's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from what I understand in the preseason, the thing that kind of gave Garbers the edge was his mobility. And it kind of seemed like they weren't using him to run. It was almost like he was trying to protect himself a little bit. But Dormady definitely has a bigger arm. He's more likely to go downfield with it. And with the addition of Justin Smith to the weapons we already have, and that's not even mentioning Cody Latimer. I still like Alize Mack. And a running back that we kind of brought in under the radar, who was really big in Seattle last year, Morgan Ellison. I believe McFarland was inactive due to injury, but I don't think they specified. So they activated Ellison. He got in towards the end of the game, got some carries, got some game action. And I'm looking forward to what he can bring to the offense.
Yeah, agreed. He was a crucial part of that Seattle offense at times. You know, he had some good stuff going when he did play. Well, guys, I appreciate the game breakdown. It was a good conversation. I guess we'll see you next week or soon after. Until then, I mean, enjoy your night and keep doing what you do, fellas. I appreciate you.
Absolutely,
baby.
Thank you, Matthew. Good to see you, Mike G.
You take it easy, fellas. Be good.
All right, see ya.
All right, let's bring in Brady. Brady, what's up, my guy? How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, Matthew. How about yourself, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's always a good night when I'm talking UFL. I mean, I can't complain too much.
I know, right? What better to do on a Tuesday night?
It's always like this for Tuesday. I always feel this way. So let's talk about your matchup. Hold on, let me see what I got here. Here we go. So the Birmingham Stallions beat the DC Defenders 20-18. We saw that game, and if you watched the game, and certain people didn't get to, and certain did, we had a lightning delay, so it stretched it out a little bit. But all in all, I thought this was one of my favorite games of the week. It was very close. It was competitive, and we saw DC step up this week that I have not seen DC do yet. So I enjoyed it. I mean, what was your take on this game?
Well, I think last week on the show, I ended my turn with saying I was worried about this game the most, simply because I know what Reggie Barlow's defense can do. Somehow we managed to get 11,000 people there, though, before the rain started. I do believe weather played a role in this game. I mean, tackling you saw was nice and sloppy, which I think in turn led to the touchdowns that DC ended up getting. But the miscues on offense, 0 for 4 in the red zone. 2 of those were fumbles, one of which I think should have been a return for a touchdown. They said he was down by a finger, so it is what it is. But Corral, once again, another strong outing, 19 for 29, 240 yards, second leading rusher on the team with 51. But, you know, once again with fumbles, we just can't seem to hold on to the ball. Marable's struggling again. I think he had near 18 attempts, not getting any traction. But Ricky Persons really stepped up for us, 11 attempts, 57 yards, even catching a couple of passes along the way. Special teams, though, is the true winner. Ahmed hitting 4 field goals, including 1 at the end of the first half, and then the second one being the game winner.
Yeah, and the red zone was y'all's difficulty, right? And before you go on, we made an error. So you guys didn't have 11,000. You had 7,576. The 11 was actually in San Antonio, and Matthew made that error, and we'll take full blame for that error.
No, it's all good. I thought 11,000, it looked kind of steep for, I don't know, it looked very bare in the stadium.
Yeah, I thought as well.
Yeah, and which the weather didn't help any. I mean, a 90-minute rain delay. Very hard for people to stick around. I just remember being at work and I saw on my phone that the game was still on, and it was like 9:30.
Yeah, yep.
But Ahmed though, coming through in the rain, hitting I want to say there were 246 yarders.
Wow, yeah. He just got signed on that week, right?
Yeah. Which Blewett has not been Blewett, I want to say, was the league leading kicker, like most points scored by a kicker going into this week. So, I mean, it's good to have two good kickers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. I feel like our defense struggled, though, for the first time. I don't believe Scooby played at all. That played a big role. And then Carlos Davis is kind of non-existent for us as well, who's been a major factor for us on the D line. But I mean, they came through when it mattered most, and that's the most important part. But if you take away the DC's punt, the muff punt coming out of the rain delay, you take away those 2 points, we got a tie ball game. And I feel bad for that punter. I really do, because he was trying to make a play and then just got squashed in the end zone.
That's what happens sometimes, though, man. It's part of football.
It shouldn't have happened, though, is what I'm. Anyways, Tiamu, though, great game out of him. 12 for 22, 161, 2 touchdowns. But we still I think had over 100 plus more yards than they did total. Birmingham finds a way to make the offense very productive, regardless of quarterback, regardless of running back. And we'll see if we can continue this momentum. We got 2 away games coming up. And then after that, we get a majority home games to end the season. So good chance to go 10-0, but it's going to be a really hard fought battle those last 3 away games.
Yeah, definitely, especially with that red zone errors. And was it wet before, like during the second quarter? Was it wet as well?
To me, the fumbles look like more miscues.
That's
first
what I thought
one
as well.
Corral just spun around and bumped into the lineman, and then the second one, I think DC's defense just stripped it. To be honest with you. I was very impressed by DC. I think they're a lot better than 2-2.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That defense looked great, man. That defensive line, they were.
That's what I'm saying. That's what concerned me last week when going into this. So it's nice to see we pulled it out on the home turf, but at DC would be a different thing.
Yeah, agreed with that too. Because I mean, just there's going to be a lot louder, dude. Just in
general. I mean, they have a fan base.
Yeah, I would say Birmingham has a fan base. It's just not as strong. It's like most of the USFL teams in this league.
Right.
They're very similar. And I know originally the numbers were released. It was like low 7,000s, and then they re-released more numbers. Mike Mitchell re-released more numbers, and it was 75, 76. So. Let's talk about the combined average TV viewers, 951,000. So that was combined with the other game that took place with the Birmingham Stallions. The Michigan Panthers at the San Antonio Brahmas. Most people had to pick. Some people, here's what you do, guys at home. If you want to watch both, this is what I figured out. If you have Fox on whatever app you have, you can sign into the Fox Sports application. And you can actually bring up 2 screens in that application to watch, if possible.
Nice.
Now, it depends on what you got available. So when I went into it, I had one on my computer, which was the Fox Sports app with a game, and then I had the YouTube TV on my main TV, and that's how I watched. Once the cancellation happened, or the lightning strike or whatever, they ended that second quarter pretty quick. Pretty prematurely, and they moved that game over, and we could watch San Antonio on the DC channel, and so most people got to pick it up at that point,
right,
and watched it. But yeah, guys at home, if you're wanting to watch both, try to sign into the Fox Sports app directly. Even if you have cable, satellite, YouTube TV, whatever, sign into that app directly and play with it and see what you can do. You can do one on your TV and one on your phone. It really just depends on what's available. I mean, I can't tell you it's there, but I made it work on my end, and I'll try to make a video, try to help them out. In terms of these numbers, though, it was good. And what else will we expect on Fox? It's fine.
Right.
We had all the football you could watch Saturday, and I mean, I personally enjoyed it, man. It was a good day Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's gonna be even better this weekend. We got AFL kicking off with us too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that, man.
Yeah, the 27th, I do believe. So
you're gonna have IFL, AFL, UFL, and then here soon we'll have CFL. So
yeah,
all the FLs, man, we got them. So you're pretty confident
leagues.
Going into the future, though, that Birmingham can keep on and keep on winning and stick to this 10-0 record at the end of the season.
Pending injuries. Also, though, like you guys were talking earlier, St. Louis is on the come up. DC is not to be, they're not a slouch by any means.
Nope.
Michigan hangs tough in most games. Like it's going to get tough. I think towards the second half, you're going to see who's the most resilient and who can stay healthy and strong and adapt, like Mike said, throughout the 10 weeks. I mean, we could be a completely different team in 2 to 3 weeks.
What do you think about the quarterback situation there? Martinez, Corral. I mean, which guy is supposed to lead this team? Are we going to be looking at a double QB system all year?
I think they've been going off of matchup wise, who they think is going to be stronger in each game.
Gotcha.
But I definitely enjoyed Martinez when he got his solo start the other day.
I did too.
So I think as long as they can play together, and I would like to see Corral take on the whole rest of the season, even with the miscues and mishaps. Martinez has had just about the same amount of fumbles. So it's kind of 50-50, but from just an experience standpoint, I'm still with Corral.
Gotcha.
But implementing Martinez later on in the season to kind of take some heat off Corral and then keep defenses honest with his running ability, I think could really benefit us in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. Either way it goes, it's not like for example, each of these guys can carry a team, and I think it's good that they are going game to game with matchups because it lets that guy gain momentum, lets him do his thing, and he has a full game to perform. The switch out mid game stuff that just isn't good for me. I personally don't like that, so I'm glad they're doing it like they are. It looks good.
Most definitely. Momentum was just a hard one for either team to get, though, between the rain delay, and then it's straight out the rain delay, the safety, and then straight into halftime after that, and then it was just a back and forth sloppy special teams defensive battle.
Yeah, it was unfortunate I didn't go to that game, man, because I seen that rain delay, and it was a long night for everybody there.
For sure, man.
Playing sports, dude, you go in at a halftime and you're not ready to go anymore. You wait 30 minutes, an hour, and you come back out, you're kind of dead. You got to get back up and rolling. So you can see how that would be difficult for both of these teams. But man, like I said, this is one of the best games of the week, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. And the rain added that factor in where it made things a little bit tougher. And you saw that with both of these offenses. For
sure. No, you got to see. I think Birmingham got the most exposed this game. So coming next week, they're going to prep a lot better going into next week, and they're playing Houston, so this will be a fun one.
Yeah. If Houston can step up and do something, I mean, this might be the return of the Roughnecks, man.
Well, this past week looked good, man.
It did look really good. Sinet looks really good. I will give it to him. That team's rolling. XFLMikeG said, I bet one gets traded before the end of the season. And I wondered that as well. I wondered if that was why both of them, we're shopping a little bit. But what do the Stallions need? I mean, they're strong everywhere you look. In my opinion, there's not much they're weak in. I guess if an injury occurs, that definitely the option. But
Right.
I don't know, man. Everything looks good for this team, with exception to last week when we saw the red zone drops. That was the first time I've kind of seen this team have a real weak spot, and that was it.
No, the game easily could have been a lopsided score, but DC defense right there in the red zone, just tough as nails. So
Trent Harris, man, he's on it. Better watch him. It's a big old boy.
Yes, sir.
So you're pretty confident they're going to come out and win that championship, eh?
At least the USFL side, for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, they're definitely the best on that end, and in my opinion, even with that last game, they're probably the best in the league right now. We'll see how it plays out, but man, they're firing, and as long as they keep firing, they'll be fine.
No, it should be interesting to see how everything shakes out. But yeah, I think we've secured our spot at the top of the USFL, and then it's really a dogfight between 3 of the 4 teams in the XFL.
Yes, sir. Agreed. I look forward to seeing y'all play, seeing the Stallions do their thing. It's solid. It makes the brand solid. It gives us something to really show off and say, here's the UFL. Check it out. Because the team's just on it, man.
Especially if they can go 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Triple crown, baby.
Before we go, did you see the guys in the stands doing the air guitar with their shirts off, rocking out during the game?
No.
You'll have to watch. They should show that in the highlights somewhere. But I mean, you have some dedicated fans there in Birmingham. They may not be big in number, but they're strong in presence. I promise that.
Big in pride, brother.
Alabama.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Brady, man.
Yes, sir.
Till next time.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, like I said, Defenders lost that one to the Stallions, 18-20. It was a good game. So, let's move into our last game. And this is the biggest – to me, this was one of my favorites as well because I love seeing the underdog win it. I love it. KJ, what's up, my guy? I know you're happy tonight,
it feels
man.
good to be a winner. That's all I got to say.
You've been waiting, man, and you earned it. I promise.
Yep. I was having fear factor moments here this week. Like, is this going to be an epiphany of Memphis Express? But we at least had this one to hang our hat on. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Hey, the offense looked pretty good, dude. And you can go ahead and fire it up. I'm gonna throw some highlights on, but
yeah, we
proud of this team.
We didn't exactly, I'd say, start the best, and that's compared to our other games as well as just looking at the overall drives and such that occurred during the course of the game. We had 2 series where we went 3 and out and punted, didn't get points on the board until the end of the first. So they were a little slow, I'd say, to get offensive momentum. But looking back at the stats, I definitely would say that we had some points of pride and positive, both in the run game and Reed. I noticed looking through some of the highlights, he definitely seemed more aware in the pocket, I would say, in general, more prone to scramble when needed. I think he only got sacked for a loss maybe once or twice at most. So in the other instances, he was able to escape the pressure by Arlington's defensive front. This is probably the quintessential thing I would say we got to improve on, or this game is going to be a blimp in the season because these critical possessional errors are one of the things that, especially going against Birmingham next week, they'll make you pay for it. You know, you can't make that type of crucial mistake and live to tell the tale. So ball possession, obviously something we can still get better at. Thankfully, that was the only time that occurred. I believe Reed didn't throw any picks this game, so that contributed obviously to our just general efficiency on the field. Coming up prior to the half, I believe we were able to take the lead with the touchdown we scored. I was concerned, I guess, there going into the fourth of, Arlington making a comeback, but the defense was pretty dang resolute throughout the majority of the game, I would say, in keeping Arlington at an arm's length or more distance. biggest stat, I guess, to touch back on the run game that I really appreciated and noted. It's not like we had a ton of yards, but Marks Thompson's presence definitely made a difference. Highest number of total rushing yards we've had all season at, I believe, just under 80, and we were just under double what Arlington had. So if that tells you anything on our ground-to-ground comparison in the game, we were definitely the dominant source. Another factor that I noted statistically that stuck out to me was this is the game we had the highest time of possession out of all 4 weeks we played so far. DC being the second highest, and I think theoretically we would have won that game if critical penalty errors and things there at the end hadn't kind of handicapped and fizzled out our momentum to score at the end. So those two games are kind of similar in the sense of where we at. We both went into the fourth quarter in both of these games with the lead. So I think that's also a critical component for our likelihood of being able to come away with a win against any opponent. Is, it's going to help when you have your opposing team on the back end, if you will, or the back burner with their back up against the wall, having to fight to try to get back in the game. So it's always better to be in that position than the other way around.
No doubt.
Offensively, too, I forget the series and which quarter it was. I remember seeing it being there at the game, but I couldn't find a play recap or a replay of it in the full replay stint. But it was when we were on offense, Reed had thrown a pass, I think, to the right side of the field, and Arlington a defender had tipped it. They almost picked it off, but I saw probably one of the best efforts from, I think it was Bowman, our tight end, who went and dove for it to try to grab it. Second level effort to try to save the pass play, if you will. And I had not seen that level of want to get it, so to speak, from the team in the specific positions like that, I would say all year. So that to me was pretty encouraging too, to see through the course of the game. Perez wasn't horrible per se outside of his one pick he threw. I think he just had struggled because they didn't have good protection for him through the game. So obviously our defensive line was able to get after him, rattle him a lot. And then we got, I'd say, a few pass plays that should have connected that didn't, due to whether it be pass accuracy or whatever, that helped kind of lead to some of their 3-and-outs that never brought points on the board. So our one field goal miss there late in the game, I think, was possibly a little concerning. But the fact that I think that's the first one we've had that's been a miss is good. That hasn't been a reoccurring error, which I know, like, is it San Antonio or other teams have had to deal with. So I'm excited for this coming week. Obviously, I wouldn't say I put my hopes too high for automatically saying we're going to be able to get a win. But I mean, right there, just that highlight with Mark, the other point too, I forgot to make with the run game. While I'd say in both cases, I mean, whoever we have in the pocket, we do fairly well, or not in the pocket, excuse me, in the backfield. The one thing I did note with his running, Mark seems to have better vision downfield and just general agility to spread out the defenders when he's running. Something that our other running counterparts, I would say, aren't as good at. So, but yeah, it was a good game overall. Both sides of the ball played really well. Put a lot of effort into keeping them contained. I think we also had 12 yards for tackles for loss, which is also another pinnacle stat, if you will, or high stat for the year. Closest coming to that, I think, also was DC with 10. So getting after Perez, as I said, was another factor that helped us to keep them stifled and prevented them from getting points on the board. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, it looked like this offense had come together, not only as a unit in terms of play, but as a team. You could really tell that these guys were wanting to win. And, you didn't see that there the weeks 1 or 2, in my opinion. And the effort was there for every single person that got on that field. And you could tell.
Yeah, I made a joking comment to a fellow fan that was sitting in my section towards the end of the game. But I was like, I think this is the first game we've played not only outdoors, but with really good weather. DC probably wasn't that bad, but I mean, there was barely a cloud in the sky there, especially the second half of the game. And I'm wondering if Mother Nature has something to do with our performance.
Hey, it's a good thing though. Take the hand of help when you can get it, no doubt.
It's clear from Saturday night's game that Zeus is a Stallions fan, so I'll just say that.
Yeah, Mark Thompson had 9 attempts for 34 yards and 1 touchdown.
That was it. he's our only running back to score a rushing touchdown, and you touched on that with I think Brady or whoever from before. So that was interesting to see too. And I was looking back at the stats. I think both Stinnett and Jarrett Garantano, however you pronounce his last name, they both had rushing, scrambling, I'm guessing, touchdowns as well. But in terms of our running back room, Thompson's the first to do it on the ground. So that was good to see, and just further affirmed the fact of his kind of, I'd say, role or skill set within our offense. So
yeah, no doubt. And we can clearly see this Houston defense is studs. I mean, they are a great defense, but that can't win you a game fully. We know that as well.
We didn't commit a lot of penalties this game. I was hoping, crossing my fingers when I looked at the stats, that this might theoretically be the one we had the lowest percentage, and that's not necessarily the case, even though we've only played 4 games. Wasn't the worst. So I definitely would still attribute, and I mean, that's true in any football game in general, but the less penalties you commit in general, besides the point of them being on critical downs, which is something that has plagued us through at least, half of our season so far, is definitely something that they can, if they can continue to do that, protect the ball. I mean, these are foundational things, but they are so vitally important and make the distinguishing difference in the course of a football game, especially when you're playing a good opponent like Birmingham or anybody that's really going to, fight you for a full 4 quarters. So,
yeah, definitely. And being, I don't know, the Arlington Renegades have got to fix their defense. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening, but that defense is losing them games. And that's my humble opinion. I will say, the offense itself for Arlington's pretty good. They don't really have a running game. They're very similar in Houston, as they could pass at least, but they don't have much of a running game. And you see how that affects these teams. Luis Perez has the most passing yards in the UFL right now out of quarterbacks, is what's crazy, and they still have not won a game.
Yeah, it's an interesting note. I mean, they haven't been perfect on either side of the ball. I guess nobody really has, but somebody I'd seen on social media make a comment about trying to allude to the fact that they had, I think, a different offensive coordinator this season versus last in their championship run. I don't know who their coach is on the defensive side versus who they had last year, but I mean, yeah, it's a combination of, I'd say, coaching, obviously, and the personnel you've got on the roster, obviously.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, even in this game, they were really, once again, I don't know if we've only had 2 that I can recall of. The one we lost to Michigan, and then I think there may be more. The 2 off the top of my head are that one, and Birmingham's dominant win against Memphis that were over 2 possession games. So, I mean, it's never that they're 100% out of it. It's just when it comes down to the wire, I'd say this game we were very fortunate to have a combination of good play calling and certain personnel back in it that contributed to the W. So
agreed. Yeah, it looks like the injury bandwagon is almost clear for the Roughnecks. I looked today, and everybody hasn't updated their reports yet. Here, let me see if I can pull this up.
Yeah, they had. I was looking at it a second ago. Close the window, but they were showing. I think somebody had populated one with the Stallions and ours. Yeah, that's the one.
So it's always a little too early to tell on a Tuesday. We know from NFL injury reports, but you can see, even Garantano is limited here. I'm surprised with that.
I was surprised to see that as well. I mean, that's the interesting. It's what do they quantify as limited? Is it simply him doing calisthenics on the field? You know what I mean? It
Exactly.
Could be a part of things. So it's hard to chalk up that to be whatever it truly is. We don't know. We're not there. So.
Yep. And this can change very quickly. I know the day of the games, some injuries were reported, inactives, right before on Twitter, because some of the DFS guys were not digging it at all. But yeah, let me see. You're talking about the penalties, and I totally agree with you. If somebody's losing a game in a football game in general, they're going to have more penalties than the other team. That's just my belief. Arlington had 7 penalties for 66 yards, and Houston had 5 for 55. So this was probably the one game that we had less penalties as in Houston than another team.
I would agree.
And it's better. They're cleaning it up. It's not perfect, but hey, you got to take it as it comes, right?
For sure. Week by week, you hope that they improve on their weak points and That's really all you can ask for. Maintain the stability in what you're doing right and improve on what you're doing wrong. That's the foundation of getting better. So.
Yep. In terms of Mark Thompson, it looks like he's dropped off that report. So, I mean, y'all should be good to go. He should be full time. And if he's 100%, it's gonna definitely open some things up on that offense.
Oh yeah. Well, and you even saw it in some of those highlights in the Arlington game. I liked and appreciated the fact they didn't just, he wasn't the starter, I think, listed pre-game. He was, second position on. Doesn't really matter regardless in terms of how they mix him in during the game. But the fact that once he came in, he wasn't constant. They kept mixing in, I forget the other kid's name that we've got that's pretty quick on his feet, number 11. They mixed him in conjunction, in addition to that, on some of our pass plays, they had Thompson in. So it wasn't a clear-cut or obvious factor, which is, should be obvious, but some coaches don't even necessarily always do that. Mixing in your run-dominant running back on pass plays to throw the defense off. So I appreciated Coach Johnson mixing that component in and being dynamic with how he orchestrated the team on the field to help keep the defense guessing, so to speak. So.
Yes, sir. Agreed with you. I'm glad Houston got that win. Unfortunate for Renegades and Renegades fans. It really is. But somebody's got to be the worst. Somebody. Let's talk about the attendance real quick. 7,179 in attendance. And it looked pretty good there. It looked better than the previous game that was home, in my opinion. And then 243,000. I need to take the million off there. That's definitely not million, guys. That's definitely not million. That's definitely.
I'm down with taking 3/4 of the country's population for.
I'm like, holy shit! Screw a league, just for them. So 7,179 in attendance and 243,000 average TV viewers on FS1. I mean, it's FS1. We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's FS1, and it's also 2 losing teams. You can't expect too many people to show up.
That's true.
Now, if it would have been mainstream TV, we probably would have saw a uptick and maybe even like more than double of this, I would imagine. But it's gonna be UFL fans watching this stuff. It's gonna be, it's not just Houston fans, and I think we see that from this. This is the only game we've had on FS1, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's the only one we're going to have all season. So that's a good thing. Very, very good thing.
I would agree.
Any other concerns or things you want to update us on about Houston while we're here?
I touched on the positive with Reed and being able to scramble. Another thing that I think is paramount to us being able to holistically play well and produce a quality product, especially next week against a dominant defense like Birmingham has. They're not to be trifled with. Their defensive line is good as well. The thing I noted, and it's you try not to microscopically nitpick too much stuff. There were some throws that Reed made that were pretty errant, over the receiver's head or what have you during the course of the game. Those are the ones that they just scare me because I know against a better secondary defense, once again, that'll be something that, in theory, if we make that type of mistake against Birmingham, they can easily make us pay for it.
Yep.
It's me just being can nitpick those tiny things, being critical in some instances like that. But he did play better. I think this was from a completion percentage and his overall QBR. This was his second best game all season. His first being, I think, the DC game. So, you can't really criticize it too much into the ground. He played a good game. Like I said, awareness was clearly better this time around in the pocket, in my opinion. So we just gotta, if they get out there and play as a unit, that's really what it comes down to. I think to make the difference, we've got a good roster. Obviously, I think some people would argue that our record could be different if the defense had played, penalty free and made, less mistakes against a team like Memphis, for instance, week 1. Just little things like that make the difference. And if we can improve on those, I take solace in the fact that maybe still we can at least come out with a similar record to what the Gamblers had last year in the USFL and, kind of a near 50-50 par split. And I'd be at this point more than satisfied with that, especially with the marked improvement we've seen through 4 weeks of play. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll tell you, if they're going to have a chance this week, and just like you said, they're going to have to capitalize on some of those errors that are made by the other team, as well as not make those errors that the other team can capitalize on.
Yeah.
That's going to be their key to winning. I mean, it's written in stone.
Yeah, I'd say defense has to play lights out. And then the other stat I forgot to mention earlier, I was looking back from a red zone efficiency standpoint, this was our best game all season. Most all of our games have been sitting around the 50 percentile or less mark in terms of scoring once we got into the red zone. This was like, I think, 60 to 70 percentile range. So we are obviously a marked improvement over the past weeks.
Definitely. Y'all, Houston Roughnecks were 2 for 3 in the red zone. Arlington was 1 for 2. And then I thought, so another possession, the time of possession, I thought this was interesting. Arlington 27-17, Houston 32-43. So they were very close in times of possession. It was that much different.
Yeah. I think the score reflects that to some extent. But yeah, no, I would agree. It wasn't paramountly different, but the fact for us, I think that it was our highest of the season marks the fact that we were able to have better overall ball control, clock management, what have you. So
DeMarcus said, I don't think the Renegades are quitting, but I do think the losing is getting in their heads.
I mean, I can't blame them. Goodness, I would have. You tell me that we lose this past weekend against them, I would have automatically probably chalked up to say, yeah, I have about a 75% or more percent likelihood of us not winning a game the rest of the season, especially with the schedule we have. You know, you play Birmingham the next week, you already have bad confidence, and then you have to lose again to the dominant number one team. That's going to destroy your cohesiveness and any semblance of confidence you have as a team. So I completely understand that. DeMarcus is not far off in making that statement.
Yes, sir. And even just being the former champions and coming in and having a losing record, that's a big one.
For sure.
It'll hurt you. It don't matter who you are. I know in high school we had a losing season due to a tornado hitting the school, and it was probably one of the hardest things as a young man that I dealt with, is losing every single game, getting demolished in football.
Yeah,
it definitely humbles you, but as a professional, this isn't what you're wanting to do. This isn't your setup. You need to win. Champion mentality.
For sure.
I had one more thing I wanted to know. Oh, yes. So with Jarrett Garantano being limited, in your opinion, I mean, are we going to be looking at a return of Jarrett in this offense? Or are you going to be working him in? Or are we going to make Reed Sinnett the number one guy there in Houston?
I had this little bit of discourse between myself and a fellow super fan, Mr. Mysterio, and he and I didn't agree 100%, though we both acknowledged like both quarterbacks had skill set. I know Jarrett struggled early in the season to kind of get traction and get, positive progression down the field, especially against Memphis. I saw probably more in the DC game, I guess, respective to or about the same versus yesterday's game against Arlington with Reed's play in terms of some of these errant over-the-head throws or what have you. But the fact that he has the confidence and the willingness to throw the ball more, obviously, you can't critique that. You've got to at least try, even if an errant pick happens to throw in contested throw or not, so be it. But I leave that up to coach, honestly. I mean, I would cross my fingers and say, though he has made bad calls, some of which fans even in the game haven't agreed with earlier in the season, the fact that we played well this game and I felt some of the play calling was better this game too. You hope that carries on in the weeks ahead and goes beyond just play calling, but goes into, okay, who is coach going to pick for these, important, very important pivotal roles? The other thing too, I guess to your point, you talked about this with Case Cookus and the concern and risk for injury. I would almost say, you can't predict how Jarrett's going to be when he first comes back, if he does bring him back. My hope would only be in that instance that if he gives him a shot to try and he sees the single slightest sign of gun shyness or hesitation, he immediately pulls him, not only for Jarrett's well-being, but for the betterment of the team as a whole, and puts Reed back in. because he has the past history now over 2-3 games now to, have the confidence and not be afraid to at least sling the ball and take those tries down the field. That was one thing I really liked about this game, in similarity to DC, was that there were some deep passes that we didn't have. We had nil of, or practically none of, against Memphis in week 1. I don't remember how many deep throws we had against Michigan, but that was when Reed was in once again versus Jarrett being in play. So, you throw that into the mix, you could chalk it up to week 1 jitters and lack of cohesion in the play calling department. But the fact that they're throwing the ball downfield and taking some deep shots obviously helps spread the D out that you're playing against. So I would with Reed at this point. I liked Jarrett. I didn't think he was bad. I thought he was smart with some of his throws that, for instance, in the direct side-by-side comparison of the DC game, coming out of that game, especially how it ended, I was still not on the whole Reed Stinnett bench, so to speak, in terms of being the number 1 cheerleader, even though preseason I thought he was going to be our starting guy. We're kind of going through, I guess, in that sense, you could say, even though it's due to injury, just like San Antonio, some people thought Dormady was going to start, myself included. Same thing with Reed, and I was going off of that strictly based on the fact of recency in terms of active play time and his general completion percentage in the past season that we played in the XFL. So that's true also, I think, for Dormady on the San Antonio roster. But you give a guy a shot, and we're not there on the sidelines during the preseason training camp to see what the coaches are seeing. So you can't discount their choice when they choose to start a guy until you get a shot.
Yeah, I feel that. Game time situations, everything's changed. You know that as well, so I get it. But it was clear to me week 1 when I went to that game and watching how Coach Johnson and Jarrett jived together that was his guy. And that's why I'm curious, is that still his guy? Because you could tell that was his guy. He was very close with him. Yeah. So we shall see. Mark Thompson said the thing that got me was seeing the negativity of head coach Bob Stoops in the post-game press conference. Not going to lie, I did not watch that. Did you get a chance to watch that, Ken?
I did not. I would be interested to look back at it now based on what he said. But
I will as well, and I will include a link to it in the show notes if I can find it where it's accessible.
Yeah, that can't be to DeMarcus's point. If what Mark said is true,
well, we're going to
that's only going to compound. Well, not his previous comment.
Gotcha.
With the losing component and confidence factor, like if your coach is already in the negative, that's your pinnacle leader of your team. If that guy can't keep the atmosphere and the even keel, mindset, then it's really going to decapitate your momentum as a unit. So.
Especially Stoops. He's a personality and character. He's not only a coach; he's got a whole personality that he has to maintain as well. He was a coach before he came into this league, before he came into XFL, whatever, and he was a very well-known coach. So let's get to DeMarcus's other point. He said, Kenneth, do you have any more confidence in Houston's coaching now with Thompson back and Sinnett seeming to play well?
I definitely think so. I hope so. One thing I noted that I saw in many fans in attendance that were there at the game, they immediately applauded the one. I think I myself personally still feel this way. Someone can correct me on my lack of understanding if it's skewed or wrong with NFL rules, and we may not have the same exact ones when it comes to certain penalty calls. But the one deep pass play Reed made, where we had, I think it was to double coverage, and our receiver was trying to move over to get to the ball, was prevented from doing so, in my opinion. Coach threw the challenge flag for the pass interference call, and the refs reviewed it, and still good old Dean Blandino and company did not vote in our favor. That one still irks me that I don't understand. I'm not going to nitpick it because we won the game still, but that just seemed like a total miscalling because in my opinion and my understanding from past games I've watched in the NFL, if you are truly impeding the route that the receiver is trying to run, that is still considered pass interference. They didn't call it. They didn't see it that way. I don't know how they didn't see it that way, but they didn't. But in terms of the fact that, yes, we can air it out more, having Mark in, clearly someone who has better vision downfield. You saw it in the one run play he had for a touchdown. He had a better job, in my opinion, patience in the pocket to literally follow the offensive linemen, let them develop the openings. And then in addition to that, he used his agility to kind of bait and switch the secondary defenders, the defensive linemen to bite here, him hop outside and be, open daylight. So it's that level of vision and ability to kind of bait and switch the defenders that are coming at you as a running back that pays dividends. So
Yep.
Those two things in conjunction, I would only hope give Coach Johnson better cojones and confidence to say, hey, let's throw in this trick play we tried once or twice, in training camp, and we practiced once this week. We'll give it a shot here because we're having good tempo and movement down the field or what have you. But that all remains to be seen. So.
Yes, sir. Agreed. And that's a good way to put it, man. And you're a good person to describe it from your sense, because I know you really love this team. It's one of your babies.
I'm biased as it comes, being a Houston native, but I will die on the hill for my squad. If anybody questions my fandom or wants to skew me as a bandwagon guy, they only need to look at my picture photo album on my computer of the Memphis West season. So.
Hey, back to what Mark was saying earlier. He said Coach Stoops blamed the win, then went on to blame many other things.
Yes.
That's not a good look. Definitely not a good look. And then he said, I think Stoops seemed like he was at odds to figure out why his team could not win. And, that makes sense. I can't imagine, especially in Stoops' place, having to sit through that post-game presser. What I was told in Birmingham after that game, that Reggie Barlow didn't even attend the post-game presser. He just said, forget it, I'm out. Yeah. So it's interesting. Appreciate you sharing that, Mark. That's Mark Nelson from UFLboard.com. He's the owner, the operator, the creator, and mind behind it.
Nice.
Appreciate you, Mark.
They all have a great website, Mark. I love seeing the stats and everything on there. I think y'all are one of the go-to sources for training camp preseason for our roster tracking, especially when they were picking up guys through each round of the draft.
Yeah, they do a really good job. He's got a good crew, him himself too. They keep that thing managed, and I like it. He's got a little bit of pop-ups, but he doesn't have a lot of pop-ups like some of these other sites, man. You can't even navigate some of these sites. You're just like click, 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 click.
Right.
So yeah, we appreciate you, Mark. UFL Board. I use them a lot. Just like I was talking about the stats. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the UFL Board article of the game overview. I'll include it in the notes. And it's at the bottom of the article. He's got all the important stats, the box score stats and everything. So you can find almost anything you need on here. It just takes time. When they get it, we get it.
Sure.
Mark Nelson, he said, we don't like ads.
Good ads. Come on.
That's what he said here. Just good ads. Well, Kenneth, man, I appreciate you greatly. I look forward to seeing this Roughnecks do their thing against the Stallions, man.
Honestly, I won't be mad at all if we don't win next week. I think what I would like to see is just a surprising, well-played game that, if we can keep it close. They have no reason to walk off that field after that game and not hold their heads high.
Yep.
Birmingham is a great team. Nobody can dock them for not being a well-coached team. You've got the, back-to-back championship header at your disposal there. And he is clearly I won't apologize for my rankings preseason, even though some people like to haze me for that. But I was going strictly off the stats. I tried to give weight to the history and who the coach of the team was as well, but not allow that to be the pivotal thing that drove the overall rating of the team. Because in my opinion, that's nothing more than fan biases, following your squad. And surprisingly, to your point, it is surprising how much Arlington struggled based on those kind of measurable factors that I tracked. But it's clear that you can't quantify what a coach can do to a program and a team, especially someone as skilled as Skip Holtz. He, in my opinion, is probably one of my favorite coaches in our league right now. And then I'm biased to say that because that was one of the few preseason fan engagements I went to. But to really hear him talk, he's, I think, the only spring football coach I've heard say tangibly that he literally turned down other college offers after he was at Northwestern for his interim season a year or so ago. And literally said he doesn't want to go back to college. He enjoys spring ball too much. This is where he wants to be. So, you have a coach that is that dedicated to your city and your program, the sky's the limit. So,
yeah, you're totally right, dude. It speaks to the volumes too of that Stallions team. How they've played together for these years, and you see that they click.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can all see that. Anybody who's whether they're a fan or they have any education in football, it's obvious they have a history together. Watching them play. Yeah, Kenneth, I guess that's it for me, man. You got anything else before we let you go?
Whether or not I'm here next week, if you tune in, I might be sharing a live stream or something off the Norwegian Jade in the middle of the Gulf. So I'll be in the Bahamas this weekend.
Interesting.
So they got ironically enough, the first day of our departure from Port Canaveral in Florida, they have a wear your favorite team league gear. And I was honestly, I'll be fully transparent, prior to Saturday, I was like, or Sunday, excuse me, I thought, man, if we lose this game, I might have to second guess wearing Roughnecks gear onto the ship. But I'm glad we got the win. It's like, you know what? I don't care if we lose next weekend. I'm going to wear my stuff with pride. I'm going to walk on that ship gleaming from ear to ear. So
we'll enjoy that vacation, man.
I appreciate it.
If you can't make it, I promise you, we will not have any hard feelings. You enjoy your time, dude. I wish I was going there. Have fun while you're there, is what I got to say. You'll be back home soon, and we'll get you back in gear.
There you go.
I appreciate you, though, KJ. You keep doing your thing, man. Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Y'all, good night.
All right, so to finish that one up, the Houston Roughnecks beat the Renegades 17-9 at Rice Stadium in Houston. It was a good game in terms of watching a team actually do some things together. I was a huge Roughneck fan last year. I'm not so much this year in terms of a fan, just trying to enjoy the game in general. But, man, I saw some good things from that team that I did not think was going to happen after watching weeks 1 and 2. So, it's good stuff. Okay, so we're going to do a quick overview of the upcoming games for week 5, and y'all aren't going to like it, but the first one off the bat is a regional broadcast. It's Saturday, April 27th. The San Antonio Brahmas take on the Arlington Renegades. It's at the Arlington Renegades. Starts at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's on Fox. Like I said, it's regional. So make sure you're prepared for this beforehand if you're listening. You know, play with the apps, play with what access you have, see what you can do now with kind of what you have available. I tried last week to get a regional guide before the actual day of the game, but no one emailed me back. I never heard anything about it. I seen it pop up on Twitter, I believe Friday evening late. But then again, I mean, most people aren't just looking through Twitter to try to find info for the UFL. So, yeah, we'll see if they release anything this week for this game. But keep in mind it's regional. Just don't forget it, okay? Remember, log into your Fox Sports app. Try the different applications you have available and see what is available in that app. You will be surprised at what you find depending on what you have. So, I mean, can the Renegades pick up a dub here? Not probable, but hopeful. I mean, it's going to be a good one, and hopefully they can get the fans out for that game as well. Stream East GG. So KJ is recommending this stream. Check it out, guys. I'm not recommending it in terms of advertisement. Just going to put that out there. This is a recommendation by one of our people. So check that out. You can contact him, too, on his page. Check him out on Facebook and Twitter. I'll include it in the notes. You can contact him and talk to him if you want. He's a cool guy. He'll interact with you. So we got that game on the 27th. Starts at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's on Fox, and it's regional. The next game at that same time slot on Saturday, April 27th, is the Birmingham Stallions at Houston Roughnecks. This game's at Rice Stadium. The fans should be nice and rowdy for this one. Hopefully they'll get some more bodies out there with that win they had. It's going to be a battle, and I'm hoping these Roughnecks can do something against the Stallions. But, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Good luck to you, Roughnecks. Seriously, do your thing. Like I said, this one's regional, so you may or may not get this game. Check your listings before game time so you're not running around crazy trying to get this stuff pulled up. And keep in mind, if you have Sirius FM or Sirius XM, you can listen to this stuff on any station on there. They have all the games, so keep that in mind as well. Sunday's first game of the day is the St. Louis Battlehawks at DC Defenders. That game starts at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. So that's an early one for us again. Hopefully we can get away from these 11 o'clock games next year because I'm not a big fan of them, honestly. Not in any way, shape, or form. I understand they had to get what they could get in terms of slots and scheduling, but I feel like this time hurts us a little bit. Not only in attendance, but TV numbers as well on a Sunday. The last game for the week, Sunday, April 28th, it's the Michigan Panthers at the Memphis Showboats. That game starts at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Going to be a good one to watch here, I feel like. We'll see if Case Cookus returns. I haven't seen any injury updates on their report yet, so I've been kind of watching it and looking. Same thing with the Michigan Panthers. I have not seen any updates in terms of their actual report, so we'll be watching it. But, I post these things on the socials late Thursday or Friday because they don't have them updated until like Friday afternoon, Friday like evening almost. So you'll see me post these things. So check in on the socials. I'll post all the injury reports I have, the depth charts and the flip chart that has all the information, who's starting where. So check that out on our social platforms. I mean, I've even been posting it to Instagram, even though we only have like 50 people on Instagram. It's just, people want to see it. I'm trying to give it to you. So I don't know. We did see some late injuries be added to the report last week. And like I was saying, that it kind of, the DFS thing was a little janky with that. And even me, like I have some DFS lineups. If you don't know what DFS is, it's daily fantasy. So it's fantasy football that you pick a team for the day and you play whatever game, whatever rules, whatever money is up for grabs. You buy in and then you see what happens. So, I mean, I play each week and I'll win a little bit of money, but don't let me sit here and brag. I'll lose money too. So, but with that, it's pretty frustrating to be setting these lineups and then you see an injury or somebody not playing last minute. So hopefully we get some more updates on these injuries beforehand, because I know what a lot of people don't want to play the DFS when it's like that. It's hard to keep up with. It's hard to win even when you have that happening. So we know from NFL that, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Once the Thursday reports drop, that's typically when we start getting worried, when you start seeing someone injured or whatever. So that to me, that's an indication. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Guys, if you're not playing DFS, I mean, it's fun, but like I said, it's kind of hard. You really got to be into it and know what's going on in terms of injuries and who's starting. There's a few individuals that do the niche DFS material, and I was attempting to have some on, and we'll see what happens, but he's just been too busy, I guess. We'll keep playing it, but it's a very niche market. You don't see too many people playing the DFS with UFL. So check it out at home if you haven't already. So, guys, those are the 4 games this week. Don't forget Saturday, the 27th, we're starting it off with a 6 p.m. Central regional broadcast. So don't be surprised if you don't pick up a certain game on your cable TV. That's just what's happening here. So keep up with it. I'm hoping this doesn't happen again for the rest of the season. Honestly, I haven't checked the schedule to look, but this kind of sucks. Because, I mean, most of us want to watch these games, whether you're a fan or not of the Stallions, whether you're a fan or not of the Arlington Renegades, you still want to watch them. You're a UFL fan. So hopefully we don't have to deal with this into the season much anymore. Not a fan at all. So before I roll out, any comments or questions? I seen someone mention the LFA earlier, because I was mentioning the different footballs occurring. And LFA is good, guys, if you can check it out. I mean, check it out. The only thing that I say about it is they don't have any English subtitles and it's all in Spanish. So you don't know what's going on in terms of announcing. But in terms of football, you can watch it and keep up with it. And I've watched it numerous times just on mute. So, I mean, it is possible. It's entertaining for sure. Personally, I don't know how much more football I can fit into my life at this point. the IFL stuff on YouTube, and we'll have AFL coming soon as well. I mean, you're going to have all the football you could ever dream about, guys, whether it's indoor or outdoor. Yeah, much respect for those guys in the LFA, though. Spoke with a few guys that play over there, and then the ones that I haven't spoken with. I mean, they get paid well for their time. It's not like they're down there volunteering, but they are I mean, they're working to get back here or get to a bigger league for sure. But I mean, who knows? When you're a young man and you can go to Mexico and play football and see different parts of the world, I mean, it's a good thing to take advantage of, in my opinion, for sure. Special thanks to XFL board as always, as well as UFL. Appreciate both of you guys greatly. Always call it out. UFL board, you doing your thing as always. Appreciate you, Mark Nelson and gang. Always good work, always good articles, and just I know that I can go to that site and find what I need. I have no doubt in my mind. If I'm looking for something specific, I can go look. Big thanks to the guys that came on tonight. Brady Ray, Mike Bell, XFLMikeG, and KJ Priesmeyer. That all these are great guys. I mean, it's a good time we're having here. We're spreading the love out and trying to give more people airtime and to talk. And I'm enjoying it myself because it doesn't put as much pressure on me in terms of host. But a lot of these guys are writing and doing things on the side as well. And like I said, we're not doing this as a job. We're doing this as a hobby, a passion. So, guys at home that are listening or watching or reading, keep that in mind. If I was getting paid, it would be a whole nother ball game doing this. And I'll say too, I made the few errors this week. I'll try my best next week to not do that. That's some pretty major errors with the millions. So I will do my absolute best. Oh, Jackie commenting, I'm always late. Hey, I appreciate you, Jackie. Either way, if you rewatch or not, appreciate you. She's from the Horns Forward crew. As always, they're my favorite other podcast, no doubt. Mm-hmm. Guys at home, if you had any comments or questions, shoot them my way before I hop off. I'm about to finish it up. So, week 5, here we come. Get ready, UFL. Stay tuned. I'll have another episode next Tuesday for sure. We'll be looking at the same kind of setup most likely, but I think we're going to have a little episode in between, and I'll get that scheduled for sure, and you'll know who that is and when that happens. With the guest, I found that if I schedule them too early and announce it real early, there may be an issue with them not making it, or they may end up being booked on different shows throughout the week prior to getting on ours. That's not a bad thing, but sometimes it kind of waters down the appearance. So that's one of the reasons that I quit putting out a schedule. When I first started this, I put out a monthly schedule. I was very, very anal about it. I was very, very strict to the schedule, but now it's a different ball game. As in terms of I had a guest lined up this week and I didn't hear until late or early Monday morning that they weren't making it. So it's all good, and I don't take none of it personal, but that's kind of why I don't advertise it early. It's the way it is with this stuff. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Thank you, UFL board, as always. Great guys, great crews, great everybody. I'm feeling good today. We got a couple weeks at home. It's been a blessing after traveling, because the traveling to the games is a little bit of wear and tear on you for sure, especially having to come in and do a podcast straight when you return. Kind of happy that the time off is established for sure. So guys, check us out next week. We'll have another episode on the 30th, 7:30 p.m. Central. You're going to see the same kind of breakdown. We'll see what happens, but I do have something special in between or post that episode that I'm gonna do for everybody, and it should be a good one. Appreciate you watching if you watched through the whole thing. Appreciate you watching if you watched a piece of it. I appreciate you watching if you came back and watched it after the fact. Either way, thank you for supporting us. As always, I say we're not experts. We're fans doing the good Lord's work. We're doing passion, and a passion project is what we shoot for. There's no money made in this. There's no dollars exchanged. Everyone here you see is doing it and volunteering, even myself. So keep that in mind. We do look to monetize later, but I really didn't want monetization to be my reason to do this. I wanted it to be clear that this was not to make money, and I think we made that clear. So we'll see what happens with monetization as we go. But for now, we're happy. I'm happy. It costs me money, but it's a happy project, so it's all good. Thank you again for watching. Matthew Tyler, I'm out. See you soon. Enjoy week 5 of the UFL. Don't forget, first game Saturday, or regional games, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace out.
Go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home. Touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home.